Welcome to Five Things. My 5 favorite worker placement games. There's a whole bunch of worker placement games out there. In fact, I think they're my favorite genre of games, period. There's so many good ones, tons of them in fact. When someone says, hey Jeremy, I've got a game for you, I hope you like it, and I say, well, what type of game is it? And they say, it's a worker placement game, I'll play that. It doesn't matter the theme, it doesn't matter the publisher. I love a good Euro. And a good Euro to me started with a good worker placement game. So I'm always gravitating to these style of games. It can be a space game, it can be about agriculture, it can be about sheep and pigs. So today, I'm gonna give you my 5 favorite worker placement games. Not only are these my 5 favorites, but I also consider them to be essential worker placement games that just about anybody should own, or at least play. I have a good feeling that once you play these games, you're gonna want them in your collection. Let's do the list. Number 5 is Fields of Arle. This is a fantastic Uwe Rosenberg game. In fact, it's made just for 2 players. That's one of the great things about it. There's just not that many heavy Euro worker placement games for 2 players. This is a very large game with a lot of different ways to score points. You just have a ton of options and a variety of different ways to go. The really cool thing about this game is that it's played over 9 half years, and each of these half years takes place in both a summer and a winter phase. These summer and winter phases have 2 very distinct actions. So what you do in the summer varies quite differently from what you can do in the winter. If you're a fan of any of Uwe's other games, this is definitely a game I would suggest. It's a heavy game, and it's a gamer's game. Lo and behold, we have another Uwe game. This one is Feast for Odin. This was actually my favorite game 2 years ago when it came out. This game has over 60 worker placement spots. Yeah, over 60 of them, which is fascinating. It just simply blows your mind when you play this game. It's almost like a sandbox worker placement game. And it pulls from a lot of its games that have been extremely popular over the years. And I've said this before, I feel like Feast for Odin is the combination of all the games that he's worked on in the past. It's got a little bit of Agricola, it's got a little bit of Caverna, it's got a little bit of Patchwork, and it really is kind of a smorgasbord of everything that he's done in the past. And the other really great thing about this game is that it has a really high tension level built into it, not only to acquire some of the really good worker placement spots, but also to grab some of those expansion boards that are going to help you long term. As complicated as it may look on the surface, it has this round board in it, and this board basically walks you through all the player structures in it. It's phenomenal how much game is packed into this and how easy it is to actually play once you learn the rules. I have to put my number 3 as Agricola. Now, Agricola, I like this game better than Caverna. I think Agricola is the one that has longer legs. It's the game that can be infinitely expanded. There's a variety of different decks, and all these decks can be mixed together to your satisfaction. You can play with just about any combination of these cards. And no matter how many cards that you have in your hand, or how many actions you have laid out in front of you, the game never feels confusing. And it hides its complexity in a very simple structure. The complexity in this game isn't in how the round works, it's in mixing those cards together and finding the right combinations. So it's a very simple game to play, but it becomes a very hard game to master. One of those games that I will simply never get rid of, and I like it better than Caverna, and I know people are probably going to disagree with me. My number 2 game, and also my number 2 game of all time, is Tzolk'in. I mean, really, what can I say about Tzolk'in that hasn't been said before? Tzolk'in is a game that uses rotating dials, and the trick within this game is placing your worker and then watching that worker mature until you pull them off and take the action. In fact, I'm not even a painter. I did this. This is pretty cool. The aspect of using the gears in this game to manage time and the way in which you gather resources is simply brilliant. Not to mention that the starting tiles, the monuments, and the special buildings all give a lot of variety each time that you play the game. Every decision that you make feels very important because the resources feel extremely scarce. And there's just enough player interaction in this game to make all the choices that you make really uncertain because you never know where people are going to go and how they're going to block you out from specific spaces. I think the reward and the satisfaction that one gets from playing this game repeated times and understanding how all those different things work together is one of the most cerebral experiences in board games, and one of the main reasons why I love Tzolk'in so much. I don't think it'll be a surprise to anybody who knows knows me that this is my #1 worker placement game of all time. It is a worker placement game, it's an area control game, and it mixes those two together with a really unique and cool dice drafting game. But it also requires some division. So make sure that you have some math skills. Seriously though. There's just something very special in the way that TWA handles dice management and the ability to pull those resources not only from your own dice, but from the dice of players around you. Dice typically are a thing that are random. In this game, it never feels completely random. It always feels like you have a touch of control within the game. You're always able to do something with those dice. How you manipulate those dice and how you build your turn round after round is really the most important thing within the game. Yes, it does have a learning curve. However, I think it's going to be a learning curve that any true gamer will appreciate. And those are my 5 things.